Emptiness. That peculiar hollow feeling that seems to follow us even when we're surrounded by others. It's that nagging sense that something is missing, even when all the boxes of success have been checked. It's waking up and going through the motions, wondering if this is really all there is. If you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. This emptiness is perhaps one of the most universal yet least discussed aspects of the human condition. Today we're diving deep into this void, not just to understand it, but to find our way back to wholeness. The feeling of emptiness isn't just a modern problem, though our hyperconnected yet somehow disconnected world certainly amplifies it. Throughout history, philosophers, poets, and ordinary people have struggled with this same void. Pascal called it a God-shaped hole. Kierkegaard described it as the sickness unto death. Sartre saw it as the inevitable consequence of our radical freedom in a meaningless universe. But regardless of what we call it, emptiness feels the same, a persistent hunger that no achievement, relationship, or distraction seems to satisfy for long. So what exactly causes this feeling? Why do we wake up one day and realize that despite having everything we thought we wanted, we still feel hollow inside? The roots of emptiness are complex and deeply personal, but several common patterns emerge when we look closely. First, there's disconnection from our authentic selves. Many of us learn early to play roles, the high achiever, the caretaker, the peacemaker, that win approval but take us further from our true nature. Think about it. How many decisions have you made based on what others expect rather than what resonates deeply with you? We become experts at being who others need us to be, but strangers to ourselves. When we build a life around a persona rather than our authentic core, emptiness is the inevitable result. Then there's the hedonic treadmill, that endless cycle of wanting, getting, and then wanting more. Our brains are wired to adapt quickly to new possessions and achievements. The promotion, the new car, the beautiful home, each brings a surge of satisfaction that fades with remarkable speed. Remember that thing you once desperately wanted, convinced it would change everything? How long did that feeling last after you got it? And so we set our sights on the next target, perpetually chasing a fulfillment that always seems just out of reach. Our culture of consumption only accelerates this treadmill. We're bombarded with messages that happiness lies in the next purchase, the next upgrade, the next experience. But material wealth, as study after study confirms, correlates with happiness only up to the point where basic needs are met. Beyond that, more stuff rarely means more satisfaction. Digital life compounds the problem. Social media presents us with carefully curated highlights of others' lives, creating an impression that everyone else is living with more purpose, joy, and meaning than we are. We scroll through infinite feeds, consuming content that stimulates but rarely nourishes, leaving us more isolated than before we picked up our phones. Perhaps most fundamentally, emptiness often stems from a crisis of meaning. Humans need to feel that their lives matter, that their existence serves some purpose beyond mere survival and comfort. When we lose sight of what gives our lives significance, or never discover it in the first place, emptiness floods in to fill the void. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche understood this when he wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Without that why, even the most comfortable life feels hollow. Trauma, too, can create emptiness. When we experience overwhelming events, our psyche sometimes protects us by numbing all emotions, not just the painful ones. This survival mechanism can become a prison, leaving us disconnected from our feelings and from others. And sometimes emptiness comes from denying our most basic human needs, not just for food and shelter, but for connection, creativity, growth, and meaning. We're not machines designed solely for productivity. We're complex beings with souls that require nourishment just as much as our bodies do. If this content is making sense to you, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Now here's where most videos or articles would offer you a simple 5-step solution, as if the profound question of human fulfillment could be resolved through a quick fix formula. But emptiness isn't a problem to be solved with life hacks. It's an invitation to deeper living. That said, there are paths that have helped countless people move from emptiness toward wholeness. Not quick fixes, but transformative practices that, over time, can help us rebuild our connection to ourselves, to others, and to meaning. The first step is simply acknowledging the emptiness without judgment. Our instinct is often to run from this uncomfortable feeling, to distract ourselves with work, relationships, substances, or endless scrolling. But what we resist persists. When we can sit with our emptiness, observing it with compassion rather than fear, we begin to transform our relationship with it. This isn't easy. Facing our emptiness means confronting all we've been avoiding: unprocessed grief, suppressed desires, abandoned dreams, existential fears. But in that confrontation lies the beginning of healing. Next comes the journey of self-knowledge. Not the superficial self-knowledge of personality tests, but the deep exploration of what truly matters to you beneath the layers of conditioning. What lights you up from within? When have you lost track of time because you were so absorbed in what you were doing? What values would you stand for even if it cost you something? What did you love before the world told you what you should love? This exploration isn't a one-time exercise, but an ongoing practice of curiosity about your inner landscape. It might involve journaling, meditation, therapy, or simply regular reflection on questions that matter. The goal isn't to find definitive answers, but to develop an ever-deepening relationship with yourself. As we come to know ourselves better, we often discover that what we truly crave isn't what we've been chasing. The promotion might matter less than creative expression. The perfect home might matter less than meaningful connection. The admiration of strangers might matter less than the respect of those who know us fully. This leads to the practice of alignment, gradually reshaping our lives to reflect what truly matters to us, rather than what we think should matter. This doesn't necessarily mean dramatic change. Sometimes the shift is subtle, bringing more presence to our existing relationships, infusing our work with more purpose, making space for what nourishes us. But alignment also means setting boundaries around what depletes us. It means saying no to obligations that don't serve our values and yes to opportunities for growth, even when they scare us. It means curating our attention as carefully as we would curate our home, recognizing that what we focus on shapes our inner world. I once spoke with a woman who had achieved remarkable success in corporate law: the prestigious firm, the corner office, the impressive salary, only to realize she felt completely empty inside. After much soul-searching, she discovered that what truly mattered to her was helping others navigate conflict. She eventually left to become a mediator, where she earned less but felt infinitely more fulfilled. The emptiness that had plagued her for years finally began to recede. Connection is another essential path out of emptiness. Not the shallow connection of social media or networking events, but the profound connection that comes from being truly seen and accepted. This might mean deepening existing relationships through more vulnerability and presence. It might mean finding your people, those who share your values and interests. Or it might mean connecting to something larger than yourself: nature, art, spirituality, or service to others. Research consistently shows that strong social bonds are one of the most reliable predictors of well-being. We are, after all, social creatures wired for connection. When we isolate, whether physically or emotionally, emptiness often follows. Then there's the practice of presence, learning to be fully engaged with whatever is happening now, rather than constantly reaching for the next moment. Emptiness thrives in a mind that's always somewhere else, reliving the past, worrying about the future, or imagining a better alternative to the present. Think about the last time you felt truly alive and engaged. Chances are, you were fully present, absorbed in conversation, immersed in creative work, or simply taking in the beauty of your surroundings without judgment or distraction. Mindfulness practices can help us develop this capacity for presence, but so can immersive activities that naturally focus our attention, creating art, playing music, engaging in sports, or simply having a conversation where we listen deeply. The more we learn to inhabit our moments fully, the less room there is for emptiness to take hold. Another powerful antidote to emptiness is contribution, using your unique gifts in service of something beyond yourself. This doesn't have to mean grand humanitarian gestures. It might be as simple as mentoring someone at work, volunteering in your community, or creating something that brings others joy. When we see the positive impact we can have on others, it becomes harder to believe that our existence doesn't matter. And ironically, the more we focus on contributing rather than acquiring, the more naturally fulfillment tends to flow. Growth is another pathway that leads away from emptiness. Not growth as defined by external markers of success, but the internal growth that comes from constantly expanding your understanding, skills, and capacity for life. Human beings seem designed to thrive when learning and evolving. When we stagnate, even in comfortable circumstances, emptiness often creeps in. This doesn't mean pressuring yourself with endless self-improvement projects. It means cultivating curiosity and a willingness to be a beginner, to fail, to stretch beyond what's familiar. Each time we grow, we discover new aspects of ourselves and the world, and our internal landscape becomes richer. Creativity, too, can be a powerful practice for overcoming emptiness. Not because it leads to impressive achievements, but because creative expression connects us to our essence in a way few other activities can. Whether through writing, cooking, gardening, or any form of making, creativity puts us in touch with our generative nature. When we create, we become active participants in life rather than passive consumers. We experience the satisfaction of bringing something new into being, something that expresses our unique perspective and contributes to the world in some small way. Gratitude is another practice that can transform our relationship with emptiness. Not the forced positivity that denies real struggles, but the genuine recognition of what is already good and meaningful in our lives. Research shows that regularly acknowledging what we're grateful for literally rewires our brains to notice more positive aspects of our experience. This isn't about suppressing authentic feelings of sadness or longing. It's about expanding our awareness to include the fullness that exists alongside the emptiness, the simple pleasures, the moments of connection, the small beauties that we often overlook. Finally, there's the practice of embracing impermanence, recognizing that all states, including emptiness, are temporary. When emptiness visits, we can remember that, like all feelings, it will pass. This doesn't make it go away immediately, but it changes our relationship with it. Instead of seeing emptiness as a permanent condition or personal failure, we can see it as one of many changing states that flow through our experience. This perspective doesn't just help with emptiness. It enriches all of life by reminding us to savor the good moments without clinging, and to endure the difficult ones without despair. When we understand that nothing lasts forever, neither pain nor joy, we can engage more fully with whatever the present moment holds. These practices aren't a formula to be followed rigidly, but invitations to a more authentic, connected, and meaningful life. The journey from emptiness to wholeness isn't linear. It's more like a spiral, where we revisit similar territories but hopefully from a slightly different perspective each time. And emptiness itself isn't an enemy to be vanquished once and for all. Sometimes it returns as a teacher, showing us where we've drifted from what matters or where we need to grow next. When approached with curiosity rather than resistance, even emptiness can become a guide on our path. What's most important to understand is that emptiness isn't a sign of weakness or failure. It's a profoundly human experience that has touched nearly everyone at some point. Sometimes it's situational, triggered by loss, transition, or achievement of a long-sought goal. Other times it's more existential, a fundamental questioning of meaning and purpose. Either way, it deserves our respect and attention. If you're feeling empty now, know that you're not alone, and that this feeling, however persistent it seems, is not your permanent state. It's one chapter in a larger story, a story that can include extraordinary depth, connection, and meaning if you're willing to engage with the deeper questions it raises. The 19th century philosopher Søren Kierkegaard wrote that anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. In a similar way, emptiness might be understood as the dizziness of potential. The sometimes overwhelming awareness that we have choices about how to live, what to value, and where to find meaning. That dizziness isn't pleasant, but it's also not something to be feared or avoided. It's the starting point for a more authentic life. One where we stop filling the void with whatever society prescribes, and instead discover what truly brings us alive. So if emptiness has found you, don't rush to escape it. Sit with it. Listen to what it might be trying to tell you. And then, step by step, begin the journey toward a life that feels not endlessly full of activities and acquisitions, but genuinely fulfilling. This journey won't be perfect or linear. There will be setbacks and confusions. There will be days when the emptiness returns with full force. But each step taken with awareness moves you closer to a life that feels like your own. A life where emptiness may visit occasionally, but no longer defines your experience. And perhaps that's the most important realization of all, that the opposite of emptiness isn't constant happiness or endless excitement. It's wholeness, the capacity to experience the full range of human emotions from a place of connection to yourself, to others, and to meaning. That wholeness is your birthright, and finding your way back to it may be the most important journey you ever take.